After developing your plot and getting to know your characters, it is now time to start your stories. So here are some tips for writing hooks, choosing what point of view you want to use, and introducing your characters in the first few pages of your story. So let's get started. First, a hook. Every story needs a good hook, something to grab the reader's attention and entice them to continue reading. We've all started books, and after the first chapter, even the first few pages, put it down because it wasn't interesting enough. We don't want that to happen with your stories. So we want to create something that's going to engage the reader and make them want to keep reading. Here are some ways. The first option is to just jump right into the action, potentially even at the climax of the story, leaving us hanging, of course, not resolving it, and then backtrack to fill in details for the rest of the story, leading up to that moment again. A lot of TV shows do that to kind of get you hooked in the beginning of the episode. They'll jump forward to a very dramatic moment, and then they'll backtrack leading up to that moment. So here's an example. Anastasia sank to the floor and clasped the broken necklace tighter, remembering its importance. If she lost it, she would be stuck here forever. What was taking Titan so long? Suddenly, Titan jumped back into the hole they were hiding in. Finally, I thought you would... Anastasia stopped short when she saw the look on his face. Something wasn't right. Sure enough, someone had jumped in right after him. And so we meet again, he sneered, eyes never leaving the necklace in her hand. Now you would include backstory, building up, introducing this villain. Why are they in a hole? What's with the necklace? There's a lot of questions that are raised that are going to make me want to keep reading this story. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, dialogue. Start with your main character having a conversation with somebody else. It could be a parent, it could be a friend. Here's an example. At least you won't have to worry about Nerissa anymore, Alicia said, desperately looking for some silver lining. Yeah, but I'll have much bigger concerns than Nerissa, I grumbled. It was true. The thought of moving overseas was far more daunting than a bully who specialized in stealing my lunch. To be honest, I almost wish it was me going, Alicia added, munching on an apple. I've always wanted to learn Chinese. Fine, you go then, I said, grabbing my backpack and storming away angrily. I knew she was trying to help, but this was not what I wanted to hear. So, number 1, it's accomplished a lot of things. Number 1, we've introduced our main character and narrator, I. Number 2, we've introduced Alicia, potentially this Nerissa character, but more importantly, one of the central conflicts, it appears, will be her moving overseas to China. So we're already immediately jumping right in and just finding that out. So that's one perk in introducing dialogue, starting off with dialogue, I should say, because it really helps us get to know your characters immediately. Option number 3, character observing or thinking something. So it could be your character watching something or thinking, so they're not having a conversation per se. Here's an example. Micah always sat outside the corner market while his mom went in to buy the essentials. People watching was far more interesting than browsing the aisles aimlessly. Today, the crowded New York City streets were even more congested than usual. People moved in masses in both directions, like a river with a current going both ways. Isn't that what makes a riptide, I thought? Speaking of riptide, those people look out of place. 3 surfers made their way through the crowd, boards in tow. Seeing Micah gawking, one of them smiled and said, "How you doing, bro?" So we're creating interest, but also giving some detail about our setting, that he's set in New York City. So a lot of that he likes to watch people and observe. So we're also introducing information about our character, Micah. But it's interesting. We want to know, why are these surfers here in the middle of New York City with their boards? And lastly, option 4, some sort of a general statement that will leave the reader curious. Something like this. I never liked the beach much anyway. Well, at least not after the accident. Nevertheless, I was still a little hurt that the girls hadn't even thought to invite me on their beach excursion. So this is enough to pique your curiosity. Like, why didn't you like the beach? What accident? Why didn't the girls invite you? Lots of questions being raised that will need to be filled in. Here's another example. Grandpa always said the essential things are the most overrated. It would be many years before I knew what he meant. So, kind of starting with a saying that somebody said, and then it appears that the story would be filling in this information about why the essential things are the most overrated. So there are 4 different options. Look back, try to pick which one will be best for your story. The next thing I want to talk about is point of view. When you write a story, there are 3 typical point of views that people take. First is first person. This is a good point of view if you want your reader to really get into your character and feel and relate with them like they are your character, because you're using first person pronouns like I and me and we. So here's an example. All of these are the same sentence, but written from this 3 different perspectives. So first person. I had hoped Jim would understand how I felt. Now, one look at his face told me he didn't. He was furious, and I didn't know why. One part of being in first person is you're limited within that person. You're seeing things like you are that person and experiencing them in that way, using I, me, we. Second person is kind of odd, and most stories aren't written in second person because it's in almost like a present tense, like you are doing something right now. So we're not going to even talk about that one. Then there's 2 third person perspectives, 2 options. First is third person limited, and this involves using the person's name. Your main character will always be referred to by their name, unless they're thinking and using the word I when they're thinking or talking. So here I'm replacing I with Lacey. Lacey had hoped Jim would understand how she felt. Now, one look at his face told her he didn't. He was furious, and she didn't know why. So notice this is limited. So just like first person is limited, third person can also be limited. Lacey doesn't know why Jim is angry. Now our third example, third person omniscient. Omniscient, you may have heard that word before, it means all-knowing. So this is like you have an outside narrator that's kind of watching everything and knows all the motivations and thoughts of each character. They can go inside every character's mind. So they're kind of saying it from a removed perspective, that they're just watching everything take place. So once again, Lacey is referred to by her name. Lacey had hoped Jim would understand how she felt. Now, one look at his face told her he didn't. He was furious at her. Little did she know, but Jim knew all too well how she felt, and he wasn't prepared to pity her in the least. She's being such a fool, he thought. So we have Lacey thinking and seeing things, and also Jim thinking and seeing things. We get a fuller picture. We're starting to know why Jim is angry. But with first and third person limited, we wouldn't know this until Lacey was able to discover it herself. So think about it. What would work best in your story? All of these are great perspectives, but some of them might be more suited for different types of stories. So think about it. And lastly, we're going to talk about subtly introducing your main character and setting of your story. So we saw that example with in New York, and it talks about the busy city and people going back and forth. That's a nice way to subtly introduce the setting. Not, it was a sunny day in New York City, and so-and-so was walking down the street. So he had blonde hair, blue eyes, and was wearing red swim trunks. Yes, you're giving us detail, but you're kind of just pushing it in our faces. We want it to be a little more subtle, a little more built in. And we also want it to be shown, if possible, and not told. Now, physical appearance needs to be told. But character, what a person's personality is like, you can show it by the way that they talk and act. And that's called characterization. Your main character should have the most description and development. However, all your important characters, so maybe a best friend or a parent, somebody else in the story, should be developed in how they look to some extent and how they act. Specifically and especially a character that's a villain or seen as some sort of enemy. We should have a picture for what they look like and their personality and their motivations. Remember, it's important when you have a villain, they have an opposing set of point of view, we could say. And it's contrasting with your protagonist, your main character. So all of those things need to be introduced as you are introducing each character. And it doesn't have to be all in one big paragraph. You can kind of subtly introduce it here and there. Be like, oh, it's my 15th birthday next week. All right, now we're finding out they're 14 going on 15. Things like that, instead of saying, she was a 15-year-old girl. Here are some examples. So about introducing their appearance. Number 1, sitting cross-legged on her bed, Jane leaned over her drawing, her straight dark hair falling around her like a curtain. Couple things to notice here. We're introducing her drawing, and she seems pretty focused on this drawing, implying that she probably likes drawing. That's more part of her personality and character than her appearance. But this part has to do with her appearance, her straight dark hair falling around her, almost like it was a curtain. So we can picture it long, dark, straight, and she's leaning over, and her hair is kind of going around her like a curtain. So without telling us straight up that Jane was a 15-year-old girl with straight dark hair. That's boring. We're showing a little bit about her personality and character while also telling us about her appearance. Same here with Paul. The muscles in Paul's arms strained as he rowed back to shore. He was an experienced rower, and days out at sea in the hot sun had left his arms toned and tan and his hands calloused from holding the rough wood oar. This, however, had been his longest trip yet. So we get a kind of a picture for him. He's tanned, he has muscles from lots of rowing, his hands are calloused. It's giving us this physical description of him, while also telling us a little bit about what he does, that he likes to be out in the ocean rowing. So that's a couple examples of how you could introduce a character's appearance. Now how about their personalities? You can introduce a personality through their actions, through the way that they talk, through the way that they interact with people or think about people. There's lots of different ways to tell us about their personality. So let's see what each of these reveal. First, maybe we should go ahead, Phyllis said. Maybe you should go ahead, Phyllis said, staring fearfully into the gaping tunnel. I'll wait here. We do use the word fearfully, but we could probably tell even without that Phyllis is a little timid or afraid. And that's perhaps part of her personality. Oscar is going to be the opposite. Ah, come on, Oscar said with a mischievous grin. You don't mean to tell me that you're scared, do you? What's the worst that could happen? So we get the sense that Oscar is just like, let's just go and see what happens. I'm not a planner. We'll try it out, and whatever happens, happens. Here's another one. Penny wished she could stand up to her. She wished she could say what she thought, but her fear felt like a rope that physically held her back. So this again is showing that she is fearful, and it's even saying her fear. But notice that it uses a simile, like a rope. So that's, instead of just saying she was afraid, it's describing fear being like a rope that felt like it was physically holding her back, with a much more vivid description. So maybe it shows that she wishes she could stand up to someone, maybe a bully, someone who's doing the wrong thing, whatever, but she's fearful. And lastly, I offered her the rest of my lunch. The hungry little girl accepted it and quickly devoured what was left. Poor thing, I wonder how long she's been out there. So this little bit of characterization might reveal that our main character is generous or compassionate. So there are many different examples of ways that you can introduce personality without outright stating it. So we're going to try to go for a little more of a subtle approach where we get to know our characters without just shoving it in our face. This is what our character is like. And to conclude, recap, a great hook plus point of view plus characterization equals a great start to your story. And one final note, many of these examples that I read already started to set up some sort of a conflict, introducing characters and ideas and what's going to happen in our story. It's important to, quote unquote, get the ball rolling early in your story so you can start building up to that climax moment later on. So I hope this is helpful in helping you write your first few pages of your short story.